We are recording. You're on.
Great. Well, welcome everybody. Today's presentation is the path to DTM, and we are focusing on earning your DTM under the Pathways Education Program. So I'm going to go ahead and start by sharing my screen. Okay, there we go. And just make one adjustment here, and here we go. So as I stated, we are focusing on how to earn pathways, or how to earn your DTM under Pathways. There is still a little time left for people who are under the old education program, but I am focusing on the new way to earn it. And one thing I wanted to start out by telling everybody is that some of the requirements that you need to accomplish your DTM could have been earned prior to Pathways. So on those slides, you're going to see a star, and that means it could have been earned prior to Pathways. But there's a caveat to that. You could not have claimed that service that you performed towards a different award. So if you served as an officer in your club prior to Pathways, but you claimed it to earn your Advanced Leader Silver, you can't use it for DTM under Pathways. But if you've never claimed it before for an award, it will apply towards your DTM under Pathways. So all the requirements for DTM are on Form 8956. And if you go to the TI website, you can just type in the search, the 8956, to find that form and download it. And you do fill it out manually, and then it does need to be submitted to TI. And it needs to be submitted by an officer in your club, other than yourself if you're an officer. And it cannot be done via Basecamp or Club Central. It has to be done on this form. And so basically my presentation today is just going to go through each part of this form and talk through what those requirements are. Okay, so the first part is just your demographic information. And note on this slide, I put start tracking now. It's never too early to start tracking these dates and when you perform these things, because you might think, oh, I'm going to remember when I did my youth leadership program, and you're going to forget. So I suggest, even if you're somewhat serious in your Toastmaster career, go ahead, print out this form now and start tracking this information so you don't lose track of the data. So the first requirement to earn your DTM under Pathways is to complete 2 paths. And you just need to list on here what each of those paths are. It has to be 2 different paths, and you basically put the date that you completed those. I did put a note on this slide that once you finish all 5 levels of a path and mark it complete, there is one more project you have to do to get credit for the path. And it is a project called Reflect on Your Path. And it is a 10 to 12 minute speech where you basically summarize what you took away from the what you learned in the path. Okay, but 2 unique paths. The second requirement is that you need to complete a Distinguished Toastmaster project. So once you have completed level 3 of your second path, you can contact Toastmasters International, and they will give you access to this special project in Basecamp. You can only access it via Basecamp. They don't offer it in printed material, but like all projects in Pathways, you do have the option to print it out. There's no additional fee for the project. And I can tell you that I asked Toastmasters International, what is the difference between the Distinguished Toastmaster Project and a high performance leadership project? And they said specifically that the Distinguished Toastmaster Project must benefit an organization. It doesn't have to be your Toastmaster club, or it doesn't have to be District 8. It could be the company you work for, or it could be another organization you belong to, but it has to benefit an organization. And I can tell you that it does also require that you give 2 speeches. So just like if you do a high performance leadership project in level 5 of one of your paths, there's a speech that you give at the beginning where you tell people what your project is all about. And then at the end of completing that project, you do a second speech to your club that basically summarizes how the outcome of the project and what you learned or what the takeaway was for you personally. So that's the second requirement. So these first 2 requirements, these obviously have to be done under pathways, but the rest of the projects are going to have that white star on them, like I mentioned, and that star indicates that it could have been done prior to pathways. So requirement number 3 is that you have to serve as a club officer, and your term it needs to be for 1 year. So if the club you served as an officer in has 1-year terms, you can accomplish that in a single term. But there are Toastmaster clubs that also just have a 6-month term. So you could serve 2 different 6-month terms. They do not have to be consecutive. You also have to have been part of preparing the club success plan. So let's say you are president your 2nd term, meaning January 1st through June 30th. Well, the club success plan was already created, hopefully, by the officers that first term. So you do not get credit for that. So you have to make sure that one of your 6-month stints of being a leader was that first term where you were part of putting together a club success plan. You don't physically have to still have the club success plan, but Toastmasters International is looking for you to put the date that that club success plan was completed by your club. And then also you do have to attend officer training during one of those 2 stints as an officer. And again, you don't need any additional proof other than the date, but they do verify that date because every district turns in the report of who was trained and when. So you do need to have the actual date. Okay, that's requirement number 3. And requirement number 4 for DTM is that you have to serve in a district leader role. So that can be district director, program quality director, club growth director, public relations manager, administration manager, finance manager, division director, or area director. The perfect place to start would be area director, and that's where a lot of people accomplish this role. Additionally, Toastmasters International has said that if you served as a Pathways Guide or a Pathways Ambassador, that would also count for this role. And it does need to be for the entire year. So you need to serve from July 1st to June 30th to get credit. And there's going to be one exception to this, and we will tackle that in 2 more slides. Okay. Requirement number 5 is that you serve as a club mentor or a club coach. Now, a club mentor is different than a mentor within your club where you're mentoring an individual member. A club mentor is somebody who is assigned to a newly chartered club to help them through their first 6 months to a year to get a good start. So you're assigned to that club and you're there coaching them and helping them through establishing good meeting etiquette, learning how to do meeting roles. So it's definitely a very rewarding role, but it does take a lot of commitment. The other option is a club coach. And a club coach is similar to a mentor in that you're assigned to a specific club, but the club coach gets assigned to a struggling club. So a club that has low membership has the ability to reach out to the district and request assistance. And a club coach would be assigned to kind of maybe help them build their membership back up, help them get back on track for the Distinguished Club program. In order to get credit as a club coach, the club that you're assigned to has to meet distinguished status. So they must meet at least 5 of the goals in the Distinguished Club plan to be able to meet that goal. And I did want to also mention that club mentors get reported to Toastmasters International via the form number 1 on the charter documents. So when a new club is forming, there are, I believe, 6 forms that they submit to Toastmasters International. And that form number 1 is the application to organize a Toastmaster club. And so your name has to be on there assigned as the club mentor. And then also we'll talk about club sponsors in just a minute too. So double credit. Toastmasters International has come out with a limited time offer that if you serve as a club coach, you get credit for the district role and the club coach role just for serving as a club coach, okay? But that's only if you successfully complete your service. And when I say successfully complete, that means the club that you were coaching earned distinguished club status. So either by June 30th, 2019, June 30th, 2020, or June 30th, 2021. So if you were thinking about serving as a coach, this is the time to get your foot in the door. Now you do have to serve in the role for a minimum of 6 months. So if you're assigned as a club coach on February 1st of 2021, then you would not, you could still earn club coach status if they get that the next year, but you're not going to earn it for the double credit for finishing it June 30th, 2021. Okay. And there is a special form that the district fills out. It's a club coach assignment form, and they submit that to Toastmasters International, saying that you were assigned as a coach. And then there's also some follow-up paperwork that either the district or the club needs to submit on your behalf, saying that you completed your assignment and that the club successfully met their distinguished club status. Okay, and the 6th requirement is to either serve as a club sponsor, a speechcraft coordinator, or a youth leadership program coordinator. So let's talk about a club sponsor. A club sponsor is someone who helps a new club get chartered. So this would be somebody, and a lot of times it might be somebody within maybe a corporate club that is trying to form who is the club sponsor, but it could be somebody who just has a contact at a company or a organization and goes in and helps them go through the chartering process. To get credit as a club sponsor, again, your name needs to be on the application to organize that Form 1 that gets submitted in the chartering process. What is probably more realistic for most Toastmasters is to run a Speechcraft or youth leadership program for your club. And a Speechcraft program is kind of like a mini 6 to 8 week Toastmaster program, just to kind of get people in the door and introduce them to what Toastmasters is about and kind of get them comfortable with maybe doing a little bit of public speaking. And these are a great way to actually help infuse members into your club too. I know personally my club has done quite a few of these, and I would say that we probably get about 20% of our membership from doing Speechcraft. A youth leadership is similar to Speechcraft, but it's targeted at children. And of course, the youth, unless they're 18, wouldn't be able to join your club, but it's a good service. And we've actually recruited some parents into our club as a result of doing youth leadership programs. So to get credit, you have to be the one, you have to be in the core group who is actually executing the workshop. You can't just go to one of the sessions and present at it. You have to be involved in the entire 6 to 8 week workshop that you put on to get credit. And you will need to have the which workshop you ran and the dates that that workshop ran. Okay. So that is the 6 requirements. So as I mentioned at the beginning, you do have to have an officer within your club verify that the data is accurate to the best of their knowledge, and then they will submit this to Toastmasters International on your behalf. Toastmasters International, goes in and they verify all this. Now, one thing I wanted to tell you is some of you are thinking, maybe I've served some of these roles and I can't remember when I did them. So I wanted to share with you some resources to help you track down some of this information. If you log into the TI website and you click on your name at the top, you go to a profile page. And the profile page has a little panel in here. And you can click on these different panels to find out when you completed your different paths, or when you served as a club sponsor or mentor, or what offices you held and when. So it's not going to help you track down all the information you need to fill out your application, but at least it could be helpful in tracking down some of that information. Okay. And then I did want to put a plug in here for those who are interested in working towards your DTM. If you're interested in serving as a club coach, a club mentor, or a club officer, we encourage you to reach out to the district. You could probably get maybe a club coach role still within the next few months, possibly. Club mentors, those are dependent on whether we have new clubs that are in the process of chartering. But if you're interested, it's always good to let the district know. The district officer roles like area and district director, those are roles that are normally recruited in May and June of each year for the following Toastmaster year. So if you're interested, you can certainly let somebody know now, but probably nobody's really going to get serious about recruiting those roles until May or June of next year. And that is all the information that I have to share with what's required. I would like to see if anybody in our audience has any questions.
Debbie, thank you. when you talked about the DTM project, you mentioned it has to benefit an organization. Can that organization be Toastmasters like the old
Yes,
project? Okay, so it can just be any
yes.
organization. It doesn't have to be Toastmasters. It doesn't have to be outside organizations.
That is correct. That is correct. It can certainly benefit your club, but they did want to stress that, if you have a corporate club, it could be for your company, or, it could be if you're a member of a Toastmaster club, but you also are a church member, maybe it's benefiting your church organization.
Do you know if it's the same kind of thing? We have to put together a committee and they review what you did. Is it basically like the old, just with the new name?
Yeah, I believe so. It sounded like you did need to have a guidance committee, and then you needed to have your team who is helping you execute your project.
And you give a pre-speech and you give a post-speech and you talk about your vision and everything else.
Correct. Correct. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, there's something in the chat.
Okay.
Could you possibly give a quick rundown of the 6 requirements, please? I missed a couple of them. But now
Sure.
we're going to, you can do that, but also what we'll do is we will, by tomorrow, have this video on our Lunch and Learn YouTube channel. And how to get to that YouTube channel. If you go to any of the district web pages, at the very top, there's a little YouTube icon, and that'll get you right to that so you can watch the video again if you missed it, or you can send it to friends and family, and everybody all over the world can see this if they want. Right, Dawn?
Okay,
So funny, Tom.
so real quick, requirement number 1 is to complete 2 unique paths in Pathways. Requirement number 2 is to do a distinguished Toastmaster project. Requirement number 3 is to serve a total of 1 year as a club officer and be a part of creating the club success plan for at least 1 term and attend officer training at least once. Requirement number 4 is 1 year as a district leader. And again, a lot of people knock out this requirement by serving as a area director, but there's a whole list of roles that would also count for this role. Requirement number 5, serve as a club mentor or a club coach. And again, just for a very limited time, if you serve as a club coach and your club accomplishes distinguished club status by the end of June of 2021, it will count for your district office service as well. And requirement number 6 is to be a club sponsor or host a speechcraft or youth leadership program for the district or for your club. Any additional questions?
You mentioned serving a district role for next year, 2021-22. I might as well mention that if anyone's interested in that, they would talk to the potentially incoming district director, Dawn Tucker. And that would be her role for picking out the area directors, the PRM, all those other roles.
Perfect. And I was going to go ahead and jump to the District 8 website. Let me go ahead and move this over. And Tom, you were talking about going to the YouTube channel. That's just this right here, correct?
Yeah, we're not seeing it right now if you're trying to show it.
Oh, you're not? Okay, maybe I didn't share properly.
Sometimes you have to do a new share.
Yeah, let me do that. I will stop sharing and then I will reshare. Okay, so then can you see my desktop now?
Correct.
Okay, so it would be this icon right here that they would want to click, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Perfect. So this is where you would get to the video trainings and lunch and learns that we record.
And you may want to mention it to divide it by playlist. So if you want to scroll down, there's one on branding and social media. Well, actually, you go back to that home page again. It's easier that way. Just
Oh,
scroll
okay.
down. Just scroll down. So then you see the pathways,
Okay.
and then you have the lunch and learns,
Okay.
and then there's one of the district
Perfect.
conferences. And if you ever want to see some of the past speech contests, they are in reverse chronological order,
Perfect.
including our 2020 winner.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, if anybody doesn't have any questions or want to add anything else, I think we can wrap it up. I want to thank everybody for attending, and I encourage you to download the application and track your service, because you never know when you might get some extra time and find time in your life to start doing more of these things, or time goes by and all of a sudden you're halfway there already and you will already have your application started. Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie.
Thanks, Debbie. Awesome job.
Sure,
Very helpful. Thank you.
sure.